Hello, our last reflection about our chosen literature for this week. I read 3 books. One was Monster, the assigned book Persepolis, and a graphic novel, The Other Side of the Wall. Monster, which some of you read, is about a boy who is on trial for a crime that he claims he did not commit. And it's really kind of brings to light a lot of racial issues, things of that nature. It's written in the form of a movie script. The boy on trial is the one who is writing the script. So he also has sections where he adds in some notes. So you get a little bit of, you get the script, you get the format of the different characters, their dialogue, but then you also get this narration of his interior monologue, his thoughts, his ideas. So it kind of gives you a little bit more than a typical true script would give you. This is a really cool format. I know this book has been around for a while. It makes it easy to read because it is dialogue, so the bits of people's spoken word are pretty short. So it kind of goes faster and it appears less intimidating. So if you have a reluctant reader who looks at a page full of text and gets really overwhelmed, this to the eye doesn't seem as overwhelming. So that's something to consider when introducing this with students. The quote I chose from this book is, it's about being alone when you're not really alone and about being scared all the time. And that's his thought about being in jail, because truly you are on your own, but you're surrounded by people. And for a young person especially, that's got to be a pretty crazy existence to live. And he's scared because prison and jail are dangerous places, bad things can happen, and he's nervous about where he is and what might happen to him. And I think that just said a lot. It could be used to describe a lot of places. Students might feel that way coming to school, unfortunately. They might feel alone, even though there's people all around. They might be scared because they're being bullied, because there's something that is bothering them for whatever reason. So I feel like that quote, even though, you know, the majority of students have never been incarcerated, it's something that they could relate to regardless of their current situation. Persepolis is an interesting book. It's a memoir. It's written by Marjane Satrapi. She lived in Iran during the Islamic Revolution. So it's her experience as a child during this time. And the book ends with her moving her parents sent her away because they know that she's not safe, and they want her to be safe, and they want her to have a good life. So the book ends in the midst of that. So there actually is a sequel that continues on. It is a graphic novel, so it has your typical graphics with speech bubbles. There's also her narration on the top. So there's really a lot to take in where this is concerned. There's some symbolic images. Here, let me grab one for you. So, I mean, aside from simply reading the words, there's a lot to comprehend and digest. Here's one. The cars. But it also looks like they're going up in flame. Because she's talking about bombings. So it is totally something that you really have to spend some time on. And for someone who has grown up reading traditional text-based literature, I just read through the words and then find myself getting confused because I'm not taking the time to stop and really take in the images. And that's really crucial when you're reading a graphic novel. Because they're there for a reason. They support the story, they tell part of the story. The words are only part of what you need to comprehend. This book in particular has a ton of factual information. There's footnotes in it about certain things, certain times, and I feel like this would complement a world history course tremendously, that students could really feel like, instead of it being this kind of unrelatable, detached thing that they're just learning about that happened in the world that, you know, is worlds away, this would really kind of bring it to a more personal level. Obviously, you know, the traditional study of the history could be done with maps and things like that, but to have this as a support, I think, would be really great. Same could be said for the other graphic novel that I read, which was The Other Side of the Wall. That is also not considered nonfiction. It's a memoir written by a boy who was, or man, he lived with his parents at the time that the Berlin Wall was erected, and they were dealing with that and all the things that wall represented, his parents' political affiliations, all those things that we forget that people had to deal with, that children have to deal with. So again, to use this as a complement for a history lesson or unit of study would be an amazing thing. These are also times in history that aren't stressed typically. The Berlin Wall is relatively recent history. So is the Islamic Revolution. So these are things that have happened not, centuries ago or hundreds of years ago, but in the relatively recent past. So there are aspects of it that students will still be able to relate to. For example, in Persepolis, she wants posters of musicians and a jean jacket. And so her parents have to smuggle these things for her. And any young adult can relate to wanting certain things that are cool or, just material objects. And for most, it's easy to get. You can go to the store if you have some money and buy it, and nobody thinks twice about it. Nobody's telling you what to wear or where you can go or what music you can listen to or things like that. So these are all themes that I think young people will really identify with, and it really brings these historical events to a real personal level, and you really realize the effect that it had on people, specifically children and young people. And the fact that they're not complete works of fiction also makes it interesting, because then you can do more research about the author themselves and learn a little bit about their experience that way. So overall, I like this genre. I think I like the alternative format writing just a little bit